Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Tyler Evans from Arete Chiropractic, and we are doing the Research Live moment today on a topic that's not necessarily related to a symptom or a thing that a patient would come in with or have questions about, or someone you might know, but it's actually in regards to a thing that we do in the office that helps us do our job. And that's called medical low-dose imaging, or just X-ray imaging. And so there's two different types of imaging. One is ionizing radiation. So that is X-ray, cone beam CT, CT scans, and then there is another type called non-ionizing radiation, and that's a type is magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI. And the difference is that X-ray and CT and cone beam CT, they show bone and density, but mostly bone. So denser things show up brighter, and that's because the electrons go through and they shine on the or they light up more on the denser tissue. And then we have MRI, where what it does is it actually takes the water cells in the body and turns them a little bit, and when it does, they light up on the image. So you see soft tissue and you see less clarity, but you see all of the cells and how they light up. So those are kind of the differences there. And in an upper cervical chiropractic office, chiropractors take X-rays to see the misalignment in the upper neck so they can measure it, correct it, get you better, and then they should be able to see a change post X-ray. And so what we've come across is that there are some papers and some people actually that come in and they have this question about, well, I heard that X-rays are not good, and that you may be long on down the road in trouble of possibly types of cancer. And that's actually not been proven in the literature, at least from medical X-ray imaging. And this paper here today that we're talking about, subjecting radiological imaging to the linear non-threshold hypothesis, a non sequitur of non-trivial proportion, outlines the whole story. And this goes back a long time. It goes back to when, actually, World War II, when Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when we studied what happened in those events, and we studied the distances away from the bomb blast and the levels of problems that people had, it got to a place where far enough away from the impact and the explosion, there was a drop-off in any determinable problem. And what that's called is stochastic and deterministic effects. And so here in this picture here, we have this this idea that there are deterministic effects and stochastic effects. Now, stochastic effects, or sorry, let's talk about deterministic effects first. So deterministic effects here, they have a dose, and then they have severity of effect, right? And so as the dose increases this way, the severity effect increases this way. And it's literally a line straight up. And it's literally due to the amount of radiation hitting the cells and killing the cells off. Now, we also have over here stochastic effects. Now, what's interesting here is that in 1946, so in, I believe it was the 33, or 1930, or 43, 44, 45, I think it was 45 was when they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But then this guy, Hermann Joseph Mueller, he developed this idea of a linear threshold here. So you can see as the dose increases, literally the probability of effect goes up 1 to 1 for long-term DNA damage, severity of cancer, and probable effect down the road. So what's interesting about this is he based his information in 1946. He got the Nobel Peace Prize. You can look it up. He got his information from a study he did on fruit flies. And I learned about this in genetics class in undergrad before I knew anything about chiropractic and, you know, way back. And I remember the story. It's a basic study in genetics. However, that was back before we had peer-reviewed literature, well, at least in the state and form that it's in today, and publications. And so what happened was his information got kind of skewed and turned to make it prove a point. And that happens, right? And that happens on any literature out there. You can always turn things and make the science show what you want it to show. And so he showed that any dose at any level could create a problem on down the road. But what we found out later on was that he actually changed his data a little bit, and his cohorts did the same study and couldn't reproduce his findings. And ever since, we've never been able to reproduce that. However, because he won the Nobel Peace Prize and because he was a very loud voice back in the 1940s and 50s in the dose effect community, he was heard. And the community at that time was very afraid of radiation. There were the threats of nuclear attacks from the Cold War thereafter, and the whole World War II thing. So there was a lot of fear based around it. Then we had Chernobyl, we had 3 Mile Island, we've had Fukushima, all this stuff. And what we found is that never again has that type of low dose of radiation been shown to cause a cancerous mutagenic effect in DNA and cells. And it's really interesting because if you go in the literature, look it up, it just isn't there. It's not represented. So what I'm saying, and what the point of this whole paper is that literally for 70 years, the communities around protecting people from radiation, they've been pushing this idea because it protects. It's to protect people, right? And the whole idea here is that we're trying to prevent problems and do no harm. And that is the case, and we're always got that on our mind. And the deal, though, is that not taking an X-ray because of this idea of a linear threshold, it means there's a line from 0 to 1,000 and 1-to-1 correlation that if you increase radiation 1, it goes up cancer risk 1. And that has been the rule of thumb for 70 years. But that has not been what's proven in the literature. And what they're talking about this in this paper is that medical imaging should not be subjected to this non sequitur. And it's of non-trivial proportion, meaning it is of large, a large impact on the community, because the healthcare community, because most of us, dentists, chiropractors, medical doctors, we need to see what's going on the inside to make a diagnosis. And if we can't, that can cause lots of problems down the road for the patient, and doesn't get the best result for the doctor or for the patient. And we want to get the best results. And so coming to a chiropractor, knowing that the story that X-rays cause cancer, it's just not been proven in the literature. I'm not saying that it's not true, but it's not been proven in the literature over 70 years. And measuring tiny doses and in the large population, tiny changes in cancer down the road, it just hasn't been done. And they've studied it, and they've actually seen what we call hormesis. Hormesis is where we actually have a mild positive effect because of how our bodies are designed. So if we look at the curve here, this green curve right up here, this is actually hormesis. where the body's adaptive response, we have mild stress, and the body responds with a stress change. And so there's apoptosis, DNA heal, like the body goes in and changes the DNA and actually makes it better. And if you have no stress, there can actually be more damage. So there's lots of reasons why this idea that an X-ray is a bad idea, it's just false. It's not been proven in the literature, I'll put it that way. And that there's actually a lot of literature that refutes it and shows that taking an X-ray is beneficial for the patient, for the doctor, and all around is a better idea than not taking an X-ray if you need to. If there's been shown a problem in the exam, if we find a problem, it's really important that we image the area so that we can do the best work to get the best result. And so, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. Give us a call, 603-380-9184. And again, Dr. Tyler Evans from Arete Chiropractic. When you go to a chiropractor, if they take X-rays, it's important to see inside the body what's going on, or a dentist or a medical doctor for that matter, whoever. So if you have questions, let us know, and I hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.